You know what? I don't mind being the one to say it. I was wrong about saying Splitgate would be better without portals, or that they should at least try to create a mode that doesn't have it, as a few weeks back we got a full dedicated bonus playlist of Splitgate with no portals, both with original maps with just the portals disabled, as well as custom maps from the community that didn't have portal walls. These were a lot more bare bones than some of the more like Halo remake maps from the custom map pool and things like that. And I had fun streaming it. We had a dropped stream on Twitch, and that was fun. But I came out of it not as stoked on it as I expected. And now that we've entered Splitgate's final season, if you missed it, they are no longer continuing major feature development for Splitgate and are transitioning that to the next game, whatever that looks like. Now that we're in the final season, and this is kind of it, they have Splitgate no portals as just an option that you can queue as like a little bonus playlist. And I really appreciate that. Like, that's what a lot of people requested. It's what I requested. They're listening. That's great. But I think I was wrong that Splitgate needed it, because playing it, I have to admit, it feels a little more lifeless without the portals. And it feels like it kind of sucks to admit that after they went ahead and implemented it. But I think it further expresses or reveals Splitgate's dynamic gameplay in the first place, because without doing crazy movement tech, the portals are what allows you to escape from situations, to enter situations, to be sneaky, and it adds a layer of dynamicness to the gameplay that helps it as an arena shooter compete with newer games. Because the issue with, I think, the arena shooter format is, while there is the lovely super high skill curve and never-ending skill ceiling, it makes it difficult to climb that skill curve without modern movement tech and modern extra features. And Splitgate really nailed the feel of the gunplay of just standard multiplayer shooter, but the portals, as much as I originally thought it was a gimmick, I think take it to that next level to bridge the gap of classic arena shooter where you just bunny hop everywhere and shoot people, and modern shooter where you're moving real fast and twitchy. My hope is for the next game that they find a way to blend the two a little bit better, because it has a lot of the arena shooter vibes, especially visually and with how some of the weapons feel, but it has a ton of that twitchy shooter vibe, which I think appeals to a lot of people, and if so, obviously, they have to navigate that. But I feel like the portals and the twitchiness do still sacrifice so much of the arena shooter feel that I hope they find a better bridge. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. But I know they had a really good formula here that could be even better in time, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But I think removing the portals exposed that the skill curve was the off-putting part more than the portals themselves. Because when I originally complained about it in my video way back in the day, this was like 6 months ago, I felt like the portals were a problem because it was too much to keep up with alongside everything else, because I just wanted to focus on the gunplay and not have to worry about portaling and pressing all these buttons. And it is an additional set of 4 buttons to use portals on top of your normal gameplay. Normal advanced movement tech is just a matter of moving and jumping and maybe crouching to like slide. Portaling is 2 buttons for the portals and then 2 buttons to close the portals. That's a lot of extra maneuvering to keep up with. That's why I don't like Fortnite for the building. But once I played a lot more, I still don't portal all over the place like crazy like a lot of people do. And I would argue that the majority of the matches that I do end up playing, most people aren't portaling that much. But the more comfortable I became with it, the less I had a problem with it. And it's really interesting because I think the portals worked against themselves in that regard as well. Because if you're a newbie using the portals, you are making yourself more vulnerable because you're spending the time to line up the portal shot and try to poke through and stuff. And if you're not moving at the speed of light, twitching all over the place, having mastered it, you are then just exposed and much more easily able to be shot most of the time and revealing your hand to the enemy. And I think that helps balance the mechanic, but it also makes it a turnoff, because why would you put yourself in that position if you haven't learned them yet, if you haven't mastered them, when you could just focus on shooting the other people who are in that position? This is me admitting I was wrong, but still not knowing what the solution is. I don't think I was fully wrong in that I think a change needs to be made, but I don't know what it should look like, I guess is what I'm saying. This is Splitgate's final season. They have added some quality of life stuff, the playlist changes that I mentioned, a new free battle pass. I think it's called the Infinite one, which is hilarious given the state that Halo Infinite is in. And yeah, I It's in a really good place. Splitgate is ending in a really solid place, and I absolutely love to see that. I think we're gonna miss the new content for it, and so I am beyond stoked for what they're coming out with soon. I like I said in my previous video, I have to imagine that they just got it fired up in UE5 and immediately were able to recreate what they wanted, and were like, this is amazing, this is the future, let's do it. It makes me want to dive into UE5 more because I was working on building my own shooter concept at one point. I am more so stoked for the outside of the raw multiplayer gameplay aspects, the writing, the lore, the story building, the world building that they are producing, that they are creating for it to actually make it a game and not just a multiplayer sandbox. And in some ways, like, I would love to be a part of that. Like, I've thrown in my pitch for doing the Unreal style announcers for it. We've got our backing track music that I would love to do, a partnered album for whatever the game is. I would love to be involved in world crafting in some capacity, just because I think there's a lot to it, and a really interesting story that could be told with these mechanics, leveraging the multiplayer sandbox as some sort of almost like a specific bubble or realm in space where these only work in, or just as a training facility. And then you have to expand, like, what does that look like? What are we training for? And build towards that. Like, I would love to see Splitgate without going into the crazy drip feed live service model of like Anthem or something. I would love to see Splitgate go in a direction, only because I think most shooters need this and they don't have it. But like, within the context of the game's universe, what function does multiplayer serve? Halo used to have a huge philosophy where the multiplayer always had to be a simulation, taking part in parts of the world and all this stuff, but it didn't build to anything. I want to know, what is my character training for, and what am I getting out of it in the grand scheme of things for it? And it doesn't need to be like a loot grind or anything like that, but like empowering my character in the game. Like, if I become a cold-blooded sniper, can I play that role through the game somehow? I don't know. Just ideas. Just wanted to share some thoughts. Been playing some more Splitgate recently now that I'm finally coming back to gaming. The studio is almost done, so my giant window of being completely AFK is almost over. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think the future of Splitgate should look like, and how do you feel Portals relate to it in regards to the gameplay mechanics and whether they add to or detract to? This far later, a lot of you all had some really good thoughts on my last video, and I just want to see how those have been updated over the past 6 months or so. Let me know in the comments below, and remember to be kind. Rewind.